Welcome, Zoe.
Thank you. Pleasure to meet everyone. Thank you for everybody who is on camera, not on camera. Your presence matters. I'm excited to be here. And so this is going to be fun. This is going to be engaging. This is going to be fun. I want constant feedback. So let's light the chat up. I do have a presentation I'm going to show, but this is really about you. And so with that said, let's jump in. Okay, let me show my presentation. I am ready. Let me know when you can see it.
We can see it.
You can see it. And should I do the slideshow view?
Yes.
This is better. All right, let me do this one. And can everyone see? All right, awesome. I am not going to read my bio again. Reagan read my bio, but here's the thing, what I'm going to say. I was in corporate America. Many of you are in construction, right, in various roles. The appetite is similar, right? There are certain tweaks that we need to do, but we need to kind of advance as women in a similar manner, right? So what I'm going to do is highlight for you some strategies that I learned to really push the needle. I'm also going to highlight in this some strategies for D&I professionals to go back to your corporations to push the needle, because corporations have become very great at highlighting the importance of diversity, but sometimes not doing too much. So we're going to have a really engaging conversation, because people in the field can do but so much. It has to work in tandem to really produce results. So what are we going to do today? We're going to highlight why we're here, look at the construction industry, diversity then and now, new solutions from my perspective, next steps, because you have to be action oriented in any way. And then we're going to take questions, and then we're going to take questions kind of like throughout. So again, this is your session. I am here to facilitate, but I'm also really here to see you win. And so with that in mind, I just want you to take a look at this picture as you think through all the great work that you're doing and the impact that you're making, why you are here, because you matter. So you have great organizations that Reagan leads because you matter. They want to see you succeed in your career. They want to provide you the type of support. So just hone in on that we are here to see you flourish and you matter. And it's a pleasure to be here with all of you. This, if you can see it really quick, the current construction view, right? And so I even had conversations with Reagan in advance about the industry, what it is, tradespeople, executives, and it's daunting. You know this, we all know this, and how do we kind of like fix it? There are a number of factors when you kind of pull down the layers, and we'll get into that a little bit more, but this is really bleak. It's really bleak.
Can you pause for a second?
Yes.
Can I ask everyone to mute their screens right now? Just can you mute your microphones? Can everyone mute their microphones?
I think we're good.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, buckle up. We're going back in to look at that beautiful, daunting slide. Look at that. Horrible. Look at those figures. You know, it's not great for women. You honestly look at it across corporate America, it's not that great either. Number of Black partners in an accounting firm is about 1%. Women is about 20% just because they shuffle back and forth. So the numbers are bleak. We have to kind of do a lot of work together. But what I want to do is peel back the layers in terms of how we are intentional about making progress together. So we know what it looks like. What I want to do is also highlight, and I have this, I'm like a little aggressive, right? So I'm saying that the 2024 view of construction now looks like this. You know why? Because you have to visualize stuff different. Isn't this better? Now we have something that we're going towards. So when we finish this meeting, we know that we are all committed to seeing the new wave of construction. And with these numbers looked at, 35% of the women in construction industry, 25% tradespeople, staff executive 35%, and executive 20. It's something to kind of like reach for. I could have easily said, oh yeah, we're gonna reset in 2025. Let's go for 2022. The problem is to kind of get moving. Do you feel me, Kate? Kate is nodding. Makes a difference, have a vision. So just wanted to highlight that. Now let's get into kind of like the reasons for the gender gap, right? And so we all know this, conscious, unconscious, I like to call it sometimes conscious bias, right? Because you know when you're not being included, if you're constantly doing the same things and not including the same people, lack of training, negative perceptions of women in construction. And I have a certain type of thought process around that. So it's all in terms of how you market it. I do think that corporations should allow D&I professionals and others the creative freedom to market the industry exactly as they want. They have a different type of lens. You make it sexy in your own way. So all of these things together allude to the type of percentages that we see, but I think it can kind of I know it can all be changed. So I want to highlight diversity then. And I'm looking at the chat and I want my diversity and inclusion people to kind of chime in and everybody. So diversity then said, diversity is so important to the growth of our companies. It's really, really, really what we need. Companies with diverse teams perform better. Everybody hears that. It's so great, right? You have a chief diversity officer right now. They are so critical. We have business resource groups that perform, support women, African-American, Hispanics, Asian Americans. Really important. And unconscious bias training is mandatory. That all sound familiar? That's diversity then, right? But yet and still, our numbers still look the way that they did. The challenge with this is it's not action oriented. So it allows company on some level to say the good fight, say the good things, but not really put things in place to ensure that you get what you need. So if you want to be in an executive role, where is the support in this? You can't find it. If you want to be a tradesperson, where is the support in this? You can't find it. If you want to kind of go into a leadership role, where is it? It just needs to be a little bit more punchy, and it needs to be a little bit more in-depth and measurable. Now, here's my thought process in terms of how it needs to look and change up the game. Diversity now needs to be action oriented. And we're going to kind of stop right here and have a discussion even about that and what that looks like. So it is different if Skanska says, our firm is committed to increasing the percentage of female executive in construction by 20% in 1 year. We will outline the plan for execution and share it with all employees. That is action oriented and different and detailed. Next thing, our firm will launch a new management training program for women in construction. The first cohort is 25 members.
It's on fire. She says, we will. This is
yeah,
my
you're going to say it, right?
I joined the Southwest Florida chapter.
Okay.
Because you joined the chapter because it's a national organization, National Association of Women in Construction. And so this is supposed to be on inclusivity and diversity, which is great.
All right. Absolutely. Yep. And so look at how, if you're part of an organization, right, whether or not you're in D&I or whether or not you work in a corporate, you see this stuff like that, you're like, I'm empowered. Our firm will launch a new management training program for women in construction. Didn't they say lack of adequate training? First cohort, 25 members. Second cohort, 30 members. You know why? People are going to drop off because people are people. Everybody, after they get in the cohort, is not going to want it the way they thought they would, right? Some people are going to drop out. But out of that 25, you know what? You got 10 proceeding, whether or not it's an executive role, staff role, trade role, it all makes a difference. But this is the type of language you have to go back to the companies with and say, this is what we want to see. If you are committed to diversity, no more high pie in the sky. We think it's important. Show us. Next, our firm will launch a new mentor program for women in construction. Mentoring. And here's the thing. They will be mentored by male executives and male management to support their growth. You know why? Because you need a sponsor. There's not many women in leadership. You need men to pull you along. They have the power. I was saying when I was even helping women entrepreneurs, you have a lot of women opening up a fund for women entrepreneurs. We don't need my money. They have more money than me. We'll need to take their money and give into the pot. Why are we going to do that? They have different type of access. And also, when you move them out of the decision in terms of helping you progress, they need to take an active role in this as well. It cannot just be women. It cannot just be people of color. We need allies to move this along because there's more of them than us. We will, and this is another thing, we will empower our D&I professionals to identify new hiring practices and fully support their decision. They know the work, they have a different type of lens, allow them to do what they need to do because it may look different than what you think. So you speak to a lot of professionals. I remember even at KPMG, they say, you know what, we can't find any Black people. Well, I can find Black people. Why can't you find any Black people? Or we can't find any women. I can find women. Why can't you? Because you're going about it differently. It looks differently. And so when you are serious about diversity and inclusion, you empower your people. And diversity and inclusion professionals challenge the company to kind of empower you in that way. Last one, our firm again is committed to increasing the percentage of female tradespeople to 15%, up from 2.5 in 2 years. That is actionable. We will outline a plan for execution and share with all employees. Imagine being a part of an organization and say, this is our new stance in diversity. You have this type of stance, those numbers will get to that vision that I highlighted in 2024. If not by 2024, 2025 and 2026 is going to look good, but it's not kind of like action oriented, it's theory oriented, and that doesn't help you or your career. Any kind of questions there in the chat? Anybody want to share some feedback or ask some things? Right. Now here's something that Nike did. I want to highlight this. And it's called From Courts to Career. So what they realized is that you had a number of WNBA players finishing their career. Some are retired, some are retired. What are they going to do next? You can't play basketball forever, right? What type of skill do you have? So they said, we want to actually prep these women to be in executive roles. And you do two things. One, you create an opportunity for them. Two, you deal with your diversity problem. So in 2 years, they increased the diversity executives by 50%. Created a training program for them, but you have to kind of like outline it. Look at what Nike did, follow like the roadmap. These cohort sessions with women are necessary for growth. And here's the other thing I would say to people who say, you know what, well, why do they have to kind of get an exclusive management program? The men already have a management program. It may not be defined, but the same way when they start their career, somebody pulls them aside and say, you know what, apply for this, or do this stretch assignment to give yourself exposure, or go to this meeting. They have the same thing, but it's just invisible. And we're not pulled into those type of circles for our advancement. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that. And yep, let me look at this. Thank you for the chat. Let me see what we got going here. Jessica, thank you, thank you. Important to hold our companies accountable with real numbers. It's true. What is not tracked through metrics does not get done. They will yes you to death. They will yes you to death. You have to go back to them and say, how are we leading to these numbers that I identified in 2021? You want to have better profitability? You want to be in the leader in the field? Here is what I need from you as a diversity and inclusion professional. Because what I will say, diversity and inclusion professionals, the women in the industry are counting on you. Now I'm gonna have some items for them to do as well, and that's really important, but they are counting on you to kind of pull them forward, and we all have to row in the same direction together.
Zoe.
If it's not measured, it's not managed. Yes, absolutely. Yep.
So one of the things that in New York, and just across the nation, we have a limited number of women that are tradeswomen, women that are actually doing construction related work. So, and yes, there are all these various barriers for them getting into the trade, first of all, and then staying in the trade. And one of the things that happens is, like you said with the Nike example, is the women age out. You know, at a certain point, you physically can't do this work anymore. And what is the next step for them? So one of the things that we're doing with New York in our WIC Week presentation is talking about within New York City, pursuing professional licensing that's required by the Department of Buildings, because, you know, we want to have women in these careers long term. It's not just like you're going to go in, you know, spend your youth and then transition into doing menial jobs that are low paying again. So we want them to have their careers be lasting.
Absolutely. And you know what, to make it plain, you know, a little bit more plain, there can even be a chart. Listen, 5 years in the industry, here is what it looks like, your opportunities, 10 years, about to retire. And then you highlight the things that Reagan outlined. So listen, you can go into the executive floor, you can kind of go into licenses, but now you kind of see what it looks like. It's a little bit more transparent. And then you have a guide to help you. Now, again, everybody's not going to want it in the same way, right? But people deserve the opportunity and the path if they want it. And it's more transparent. So I would even say, is you kind of like highlight for women the lifestyle scale in terms of their participation in the role, outline everything. 5 to 10 years, it looks like that. When you creep up here, here are your new opportunities. As you retire, here are your other opportunities, and make it very plain. And that way, when they tap into organizations like yours, they're coming in with a plan. Now I'm empowered. Because the other thing, and I'll tell you, we'll get into this, we as women have to make it very clear and very concise about what we need and be solution oriented. You cannot go into a whole fable or monologue about what happened, what it is. I want to be in the professional license course. I want to be in a, the executive program. Make it kind of like very clear. But thank you for that comment. Here, share. Now, I wanted to get into really quickly what you can do. And I highlighted this and alluded to it, is speak up. And when I see speak up, it is uncomfortable sometimes. We're in an aggressive field as women. You have to speak up and let people know what you want. A friend of mine who was a recruiter said, people in the organization, the talented ones, they are already knowing what they want to do with those people and how they want to support them. If you are not speaking up about your needs, and even going to your D&I professionals to say, here is what I want and here's how you can support me, they do not know. The next thing, find a sponsor. Sometimes before, people said, sponsors find you. No. You find that sponsor. You find the most powerful 2 to 3 people in that corporation, and you say, I want to have lunch with them. Do not ask them to be your mentor. It is annoying. What you do is ask them a question. You know what I mean? Because you have somebody, I have to meet with you every month, every week, we have coffee. Ask them a question. Ask them a question about the industry. And I'm going to discuss being solution oriented as well. But really ask them a question to keep the dialogue going and create the relationship. These are people who are in rooms and spaces that you are not in. And so what happens is you want people talking about you when you're not in the room. You want people highlighting the opportunities that can be presented for you when you are not in the room. So find a sponsor. Do not wait on a sponsor to find you. This is action oriented. Buddy up for social events. I know it's a pain in the butt. I know it's uncomfortable sometimes, but you gotta go. The same way I started to take golf lessons like last year, and it was uncomfortable, but I got a group of women to take it with me. And you know what? I'm out there, and you know what? I went to a few golf events, but buddy up. You know why? Because business is happening and discussions are happening at these social events that you need to be a part of. You don't have to go to one every week, but you need to kind of be in the flavor of when these discussions are happening, because it's really quick. Oh, hey, this opportunity. Oh, Dan. Hey, this opportunity. Oh, Greg. If you're not in the mix, you won't have those opportunities. But we know it's uncomfortable. So buddy up and go together and be strategic. Have a plan for yourself. Again, we outline in this life cycle, you know where you are in your career right now. Well, think about where you want to be in the next 10 years, right? And how you're going to get there. So do you want a license, right? Do you want to be in the staff executive role? Speak to your diversity and inclusion person to say how they can support you. You are now finding your sponsor and saying, here is how I want to contribute to the organization. Here is how you can help me. You're using organizations like this to say, here is how you're helping me. You have a plan for yourself as opposed to sitting back. Sitting back does not serve us well. There are biases out there, and they're going to continue to be biases out there. The more you are able to be action oriented and help those around you, the better it will be, not only for you, but those behind you, because you're clearing a path. That's really important. And the last thing I'll say is be solution oriented. People will pay top dollar for people who do not whine and complain, but find a solution. So as an example, you know the numbers are bleak, right? If you're speaking with your sponsor and saying, I know this area is not so well, here's my solution for it. Okay. They may say no, they may say maybe, they may say yes. People are not going to necessarily say a flat out no all the time for people who are presenting ideas. It makes a difference. Companies' bottom line flourishes for people who bring new and innovative idea. Think of a solution-oriented approach always in everything that you're doing. I know it's bleak. The numbers are disgusting. We looked at the numbers. We're all here to kind of help, but you know the best solution better for your company than I do, right? I gave certain type of things in terms of training and what it looks like. You know, in a matter of a tweak, what can help your company. Highlight that. Highlight that in your discussion with the sponsor. And also say, listen, not only what I'm giving you the idea, I'll help lead it. Now they already have somebody in place. Now you're highlighting yourself as somebody as a leader. That kind of stuff makes a difference. And I just want to go to this chat really quick to make sure I'm highlighting some things. See, very true. Our company has a career ladder that defines each role in each segment in our company and what skills are needed for each. It works directly with our DEI process to set people in the right direction. That's amazing. Jamie, are all of the people leveraging the career ladder program? Or many people leveraging, specifically women?
Up to this point, not as many as should be,
Right.
but we are, we just got a new DEI director, and we just got a new training facilitator, and the two of them are working very closely together to get everyone on board with the career ladder and the IDP process, which is, it's an individual development plan, is what that stands for. So for instance, my goal is to be a senior project manager in 5 years. And by working with that career ladder and integrating it with that IDP process, we can lay out exact steps that I need to take to get the skills that I need to go from where I'm at now to where I want to be in 5 years, and all of those intermediate steps in between.
Absolutely, that's great. And you know what? Here's one thing: as I listen to you with that lens, I would even make it a little bit more bold. So you know you already have the program in place, right? And you know many people are not leveraging it, right? Why don't you even have a session that says why this program is so critical for the advancement of women in their career? That would drive a number of people to that and hone in on you for those numbers. You also have to figure out, and listen, everybody is not aggressive about their career. That's man or woman, whatever, right? You can't pull people constantly, but you also want to figure out why they are not being approached to the situation. You may actually have to do something separate for even African Americans, but you want to make it tailored and focused for those specific groups so it is a safe space and they understand how and why it's here to help them, and it's not an overcomplication, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Actions for today. A few of them. And then I want to kind of get into some more questions, because I have actually a lot more questions for you guys. I want you all to connect with me on LinkedIn. And we're going to put the screen back up, but I want you to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I want you to ask me for something. However I can help you. Connect with me on LinkedIn. That is the first item. Okay, let me go back to my screen. I want you to implement some of the actions that we discussed, right? So what did we discuss? We discussed speaking up, and realistically hone in on speaking up in a manner that works for you. This is not a monologue. When you're speaking to your sponsor, you're highlighting 1 or 2 things that you want in the next 1 to 2 years that'll add value to you and value to the company. You are finding a sponsor. You are finding out which events are coming up, and you're getting a buddy system because it's really important for you to engage in those type of conversations. And you're being solution oriented. You're engaging with organizations like this, ones that can help. And also too, with organizations like this, right, it takes a lot to kind of put these events on. So you also want to make sure that you are pouring back into the organization to say, here is how I can add value. This is volunteer, right? It makes a difference, but it's also here to kind of like support you. And then I want you to believe and continue to execute. Execution is key in everything. If you don't execute, you don't get there. And so again, I think, you know, in this, well, actually, I know in this, you really have to highlight your plan. Where is your career in 5 to 10 years? Reagan highlighted the licensing program, the certification program. If anybody is interested in that now, and you're looking to kind of implement that 2 or 3 years from now, it actually starts now. Your path for that starts now. Also, think through, you know, how many other women you can bring into the field and what that looks like from a D&I perspective. How does it have to look different? You know, Jamie constantly, we highlighted before, you had this great program, right? But some people did not participate, specifically women. Why? What does that look like? There is something that they're not hearing. You need to kind of address those things to kind of make impact. Somebody has something in the chat. Perfect.
Okay.
And now I have a few more, I do have a few more questions for you. I'm going to stop sharing because I have some, I want you to ask me some more questions, but I also want to hear from some of our D&I professionals. What are you doing currently at your company that is working? What can be improved? Because again, I highlighted some very aggressive numbers for 2022, right? So I said 35% of the industry is women. 15% are now in trade. So why is that not happening from your perspective? And anybody can chime in here.
Hello, Zoe. This is a great discussion, and I'm so honored to be in today's conversation. But I think there's so many things. I think mostly for us as women in industry, we wait to all the list. If there's a job opportunity posted, we'll wait till every single thing on that scope of work is there to check it off. Whereas our male counterparts, they'll just see one and they'll go for it. They'll see the name and title and like, we're fit. They think they're a fit for it.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And we have to stop that, you know, and honestly, you know, even in, what was it, football, they had the roomie rule, right? In terms of women, people of color, mainly people of color, applying for those roles. So maybe, Giovanna, do you actually pluck women out that are qualified and tell them to apply? Pluck them out. You have your list of people. Say, this is coming up. Apply for it now. You'll thank me later. Some will, some won't. But you know what? It beats the odds. You have better odds than them not doing it. You can kind of incorporate your own roomie rule at your company. You have your short list of people. You know what they want to do. Have them apply. Have your short list of women. I think Jamie was also in D&I, right?
I am not yet.
Okay.
I'm fairly new at our company, and the D&I program is getting a complete overhaul. So once we get the foundations of that started, I'm hoping to be part of that team, but they haven't really started creating the team yet.
Okay.
So it's a work in progress.
Okay.
I have a question, Zoe. So for companies that are smaller, that haven't even thought about diversity, equity, and inclusion in their business, what do you recommend?
Listen, large company, small company, you could do the same things. Your numbers, even if they're smaller, the numbers still not great. It's not like it's like 20% women in the construction field, right? Or 35%. The same rules apply. So how many women do you have that are capable? It's a talent pool. Is there a kind of a program for them? If not, create one. If not, reach out to me. I'll help you create one. It's the same rules that apply. You don't necessarily have to be in a large company to start implementing this stuff. You can do it now. Now, you don't necessarily have to kind of put all the manpower behind it, which is understandable, but you can execute some things right now. Even if you're in a smaller company, if you know that there are 5 women who are really talented and there's a role coming up, it takes 5 minutes to ask them to apply. It takes 5 minutes to have them go to coffee with, you know, one of the main leads at the company. That doesn't take effort. It takes you being intentional and wanting everybody in your organization to win. That's the difference. And Kate, quick question for you. So, or anybody, women in the field, what do you want to highlight as things that you think will make major impact? You know, I highlighted some things. What secret sauce are people here today missing or not missing that you want to share?
I'd say that I'm having an issue with trying to get some of the tradeswomen I know involved. And I'm like, I really want you to check this out. They just have like this, like, oh yeah, sure. And as soon as we stop talking, they don't ever engage. I sent them emails. Oh, please send it to me again, send it to me again, and no response. And I'm like, I really want you to check this out. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just really think it would benefit your career. And so I didn't know how to engage them in order to get them involved. Because I mean, we do have some trained women for us, but I can't get them to come check this out. And I'm like, oh, I really want you there just because this will benefit you.
Okay, and so you're inviting them to an event where people are talking about opportunities in trade, right?
Right.
Okay, but we got to make it a little bit sexier. So that's what it is. You just kind of have to get them out. Once you got to get people out, it'll warm them. There's still the intimidation factor there. I don't know. Hey, our D&I professionals, I don't know if we can kind of do a cocktail hour or just something about, you know, women in trade. Women in trade, let's have a discussion about that, because then what they realize is that it is a safe space. You don't know if they feel that they're walking into an environment where it'll be more male driven. And even though some women are in the industry, maybe just not in the mood for it. So you have to, and it's not, you know, of course you're busy, Jessica, you don't want to have to do that. Go the extra mile in terms of creating a safe space to say, women in trade, here's how we win in 2022. That may get people to come out. Do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. And what happens is people are going to start talking about it. So from that aspect, I would say, don't give up, keep going, do it again, but make it a little bit more interesting. Just change it up a little bit.
I think also maybe from an organizational level, maybe NAWIC could do something to make it more, as you said, sexy or more visible, women doing trade work. You know, that's something that I think we'll bring to our president to see if it's something that we can do a campaign around that. Because yes, women still think it's a male dominated field, it's a male field. I remember years ago, I worked on a small project, and there's an organization in New York called Non-Traditional Employment for Women. And basically this is the entry point for women that are like, you know, in various career fields, and they come in and they explore and they give them entry level construction training. And I, you know, always champion this organization whenever there's openings at job sites, because, you know, they have the basic skill level. And I remember superintendent said he wanted to have like an apprentice. This is a superintendent. He's like, you know, you don't have to have a lot of skills, just basic understanding of construction. And I invited like 4 women to come out to the job site. One of them showed up, and I never heard from her again. And he was honestly trying, because it was a smaller company, and he was honestly trying to mentor this person into, you know, a role down the road that is a superintendent role. And that's not something that's easy to come by. So I think building up the confidence of women, yes, and also showing that there is potential for growth in this industry. It's high paying compared to a lot of the other unskilled jobs that women enter.
Absolutely. And Amy said, I have realized that I tend to expect more from female candidates because the generation of women had to be better. That is true. That is true. But we always got to be better. But we want them to be able to be equitable as they come in as well. Okay. I'm just reading the comments. Awareness and opportunities, absolutely. And then too, so when Reagan and Jessica and Giovanna tap you on the shoulders and others, apply scared. Don't worry about being afraid. I, even in corporate setting, do not sometimes feel like being around a whole bunch of men. Go anyway. Take a friend with you. That's why I said buddy up. You don't have to kind of go alone. And maybe that's another thing, Jessica. Maybe on some level for the trade item, yeah, we're going to make it sexy and interesting, but maybe it's kind of like a bring a buddy. People are more inclined to kind of bring a buddy. You need to kind of like have them buddy up, because if their friend applies, they'll apply. It's more the nurturing buddy system. Priscilla had a question.
Yes, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm with the NAWIC board in Chapter 240, New York. I just wanted to say, yes, I love this presentation. Thank you very much for being here and spending your time with us and everyone else that's online. I just wanted to put a spiritual kind of kick to this whole thing, and I think it might be a little bit relevant. There's something that one of our members I'm going to give her a plug, Rochelle Bihar, and she has a construction jewelry business, and she's a retired superintendent and project manager. She's I'm not sure if she's on the call right now. I can't see who's on, but there's something that is biblical and says something about perfect love casts out fear. And I just take that to this mission that we are working on with women in construction. And if you love something, to do it for your lifetime. You shouldn't be afraid to stand up for what you believe. And like you said stand up, make your voice heard, do it. Just don't be afraid to approach somebody to mentor you that's a man, perhaps, because that's what I had in my career early on, because there were no women around. I was the only one. And that's why I came across NAWIC. And it so happened that now I have a network of people, lovely ladies, and they're everything to me. The ones that I've known for so long. I've been a member since 2004. And I've gone up all kinds of ranks in the chapter. So anyway, just wanted to put that little twist in it. And if you're not afraid of something, you shouldn't be afraid of something, because if you love it and you're passionate and you're in this business, you should just go out and do what you have to do in your passion and your heart. And don't be afraid to stand up and talk to somebody, ask them questions. If you don't know something, ask, because then you'll know. And if you don't know how to do something right, don't be afraid you're going to do it wrong. Find out how you do it right.
I agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to come back to Leslie's question. Leslie asked about retention, right? And so, yeah, you may get them in the door, but how are you going to keep them? So it alludes to kind of some of the things that we discussed. When you are really kind of like transparent and understand your career path, right? You understand that what you're doing in the 5th year, the 10th year, and your option certification program, tradespeople, you have the support around you. Also, I highlighted the importance of a training program for women, and D&I professionals should go back to the organization and say, you really want to make impact? Here is the type of support I need now, because it'll catch these women. Also, every woman, I don't even know, depending on the firm, if they do that, if they had exit interviews, but D&I professionals should capture why they are leaving. Because if a corporation says that they are committed to having these different type of numbers or excelling in diversity and inclusion, and you're seeing that 10 diverse qualified professionals just left last month, well, you're not that committed, because there is a tweak that can get some of them to stay. Everybody's not always jumping for money. Everybody is sometimes jumping because they're not happy and they're not included. And they have the power to tweak certain things like that. So to retention, I would say there needs to be a support mechanism to support the employees once they are there. They cannot do it on their own. And so D&I professionals need to have a look back to that type of corporation and say, here is how you can show up differently. I'm going to do my role. I'm going to support the organization as a D&I professional, but I need your help.
So I want to just mention, I was direct messaged by Abby, and she was talking about the commitment of organizations to have networking opportunities, and doing it during work hours. It's really important because, of course, as women, we have responsibilities outside of work. And so if you're really committed and you're creating events for people in your company, women specifically, having it during work hours would help to facilitate involvement by these people that you want to reach.
Absolutely. And the company will be fine with that. You know why? Because it's better than you leaving. You know how much it costs to hire and find somebody else? They'll like have the event. What do you want it once a month to have the event? You know what I mean? Just do it. And actually, too, to another point, invite again the most senior men to some of these events that you're doing. Have them go around and meet different type of people. Hold them accountable and be very clear. When you meet them, have your ass ready. Be able to highlight how long were you in the company, what you're looking to do, and what your solution is. That's memorable for people. I'm sorry, Reagan.
No, I wanted to mention what Kelly said, and this is about within our organization, particularly feeling that tradeswomen are not a part of the mission of the organization. They definitely are. We're not just talking or seeking involvement with executive women. And licensed professional. We also care about the women in the field, right? So definitely, I think we need to do a better message of putting out that we're here to support them as well, I think, in the organization.
Yeah, even doing something, listen, why tradespeople are critical to the organization, why they matter, why we all need to team to get more, like those things, and just emphasize that and then do it again. It's not going to be a one shot. Like Jessica now is going to go back and have a different marketing approach and then do it again and do it again. But the buddy system is really critical for women. I don't know why, but it really is. So go in pairs.
So Annie says that ensure your talent organization builds the pipeline of talent, as well as high schools, trade schools, traditional high, I guess non-traditional high schools, higher learning institutions, to expose them to these opportunities and benefits. And that's one of the things that we do with Block Kids, which is a building competition for grade school students, because even though we're talking about women and particularly for our organization, there's a decline in people coming into the trades overall, right? Millennials don't see this as a field that they can, that they want to be a part of. So, that speaks to some of the practices that we have to change as well to attract new people, right? We need to be thinking about safety more, and that's a passion of mine. Thinking about quality, work environment quality, and for a lot of women, especially tradeswomen in the field, like using porta potties is not something that is attractive. Having equipment and PPE that doesn't fit them still is something that needs to be addressed and improved.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know what else I think really helped this industry? HGTV. Use that. It really, everybody. I mean, they're in the construction field. They're building. They're doing that. Use that. Be the next HGTV, whatever it is, but it allows you to see how the industry kind of like has evolved, and use that for kind of women. And honestly too, reach out to them to team up, make it exciting, make it interesting, have new different ideas. Yep, so many women builders and designers on HGTV. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I have part of my, I work for Turner, and we have our D&I. We also have a women's resource group.
Yep.
And I think that we try to do a really good job in like putting panelists with the big, the top dogs, and just kind of have open forums, where we can safely, employees can safely ask questions that they kind of wouldn't feel comfortable asking, one-on-one. So that way we can ask anonymously. We use Mentimeter a lot, just to keep confidentiality going. And then also, as for recruiting, I know we hit a lot of the conferences. So SHIP at NESB and SWE. And I feel, those are some of our great resources. We get a lot of great employees from those. And we're still trying to improve even more on those. And with the going to different colleges and stuff with those groups and making sure we're partnered.
Building that pipeline is so important, like having women in internship roles, as they go through their college career. So they see themselves, how they fit into your organization. That's really great.
No, absolutely. And Natalie, that's really interesting point. And I love the panel discussions. What I also love, again, is what you see with that slide where I said with diversity and inclusion, we need to make it actionable. Because what happens is if you create a forum that says the whole company understands that you will now have 20% of women at the executive level, the discussion is really different. So coming out of that panel discussion, whatever question is asked is actionable differently. And then that CEO or whoever is asking you a different question in terms of, Natalie, what am I missing or not missing that is not allowing us to achieve that 20%? That is kind of like the crux of the discussion. Because listen, the panel discussions are great. Again, diversity is important. The women's resource groups are important, but it needs to be changed to a metric conversation that they are fully committed to. It's not just you as a D&I professional. It is not, it's all of us doing it together. They need to have a realistic management training cohort program that they are pulling these 25 women through. And by the end of this program, they will be executive ready. That's actionable. And they need to be held accountable.
Someone just had their hands up. I think Jamie. Okay.
I was just going to comment on something that Natalie was talking about with recruitment. One thing that we noticed was in our particular company, we were sending our HR, our head of HR and recruitment out to all of the job fairs and the colleges and things like that. All of the people at that level were men, and they were white men. So we weren't getting a lot of response from any people of color, women, because there's no representation there. So the last 2 years, the intern program has been very careful about including women and people of color at the presentations, at the university recruitment fairs, at the job fairs. And our last internship class was, we had 13 people in the last internship class, and 8 of those were women.
Nice.
3 of
Great
them were
job.
people of color. So it were diverse backgrounds. It worked out very, very well, but we found out a lot of it was just representation. If you don't have the representation there, people are not going to be comfortable talking to you because they're not going to feel like they're going to be welcome in your environment.
Right.
So
You have to see it. Yep.
And I also just want to say that for commitment to tradeswomen, because, you know, reaching out to the unions, and when you have opportunities, requests having women be a part of the group that's sent to your site, right? That's important as well.
Absolutely. And it all works together. The people in the field, diversity and inclusion professionals, holding the people accountable, it all has to work together. One leg can't do it all.
Okay, perfect. And, you know, to your point as well, Zoe, reaching out to people and asking them to be sponsors, that for me, was one of the main things that got me to where I am. I used to work for OSHA, and there was just a gentleman by the name of Robert Stewart. He's since passed, but you know, he's the one that took me into the field. I started out as an industrial hygienist. He took me into construction sites and had me do, you know, construction related activities. And that built my confidence. And he was the one that wrote my recommendation for me to get my site safety manager license. So definitely finding a sponsor is very important. All right, thank you, Zoe, for this lively discussion.
This is great.
There are some people that requested your slides. I'm going to send it to them. If people want to reach you, how can they do that?
Connect with me on LinkedIn. I respond properly. I want to know how I can support you, work with a lot of your organizations. So please do that. Absolutely.
All right. So I'm going to put your linking contact isn't in the chat. So
yep.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will send you our week tradeswomen discussion invite soon. Have
Perfect. Thank you, guys. You're doing great work. Continue great work.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Zoe. Thanks, Reagan.
You're welcome.